And they had a wedding at some hotel there along Main Street. Then our wedding was October 25th.
49 years.
We had the East Orange Hotel, and can you imagine, we had a chicken dinner, bone chicken dinner for $1.25. And it was served family style. You know, you could have platters of chicken, platters of potato. And then the wedding cake was ordered separately. And so after the dinner, we all went home to Wilson Terrace. And then we were to make our getaway. It was arranged that my cousin Henry was going to do the chauffeuring. But then my good friends John and Thora Oakland, we had asked them. They were always playing tricks on everybody. So we felt that they were still going to play tricks on us. And then afterwards we found out they were terribly hurt that we hadn't trusted them. But what happened, we had this ranch fence alongside the house at Wilson Terrace. And Henry and Obert were parked on the other side of the fence in this very private Llewellyn Park, you know, for the elite. Thomas Edison's home was in there. And we had to make an escape. But when we came out there, John and Thora were sitting down at the road at their, you know, stipulated place. But Arnold Finkelson, he was going to hold that break in the ranch fence open. And then, no, it was William, my cousin William.
Beeson,
and then this Arnold Finkelson, he comes around and he had to take a leak. And so he stood right there instead of going up to the crowded bathroom. You know, we were about 90 people at the wedding. Why, he decided to send his spray over into Llewellyn Park. And William was there crouching, you know, waiting for the bride and groom. Well, anyhow.
Did William get wet?
I think he may have. So anyhow, we did get out, and let me see. Oh no! Then word came via the grapevine that they had blockaded Henry and Obert. They had put a fallen tree across the road, so they couldn't move unless they moved the trees first. And it was a mishmash. I can't remember the details right now. It was 49 years ago, and we finally did get in a car, and then we got driven to my aunt's place. Well, by this time, Grace and Edna were so bored, you know, that they hadn't expected all this excitement. You know, they were
quite a bit younger.
Yeah, they were 6 and 5 years younger, and they were just like finishing high school. So they went to bed. And then when we got over to Watson Avenue, my aunt was already in bed, but we hid there. The other young people, including Arnold and them, they piled into cars. They were sure we were going to Grandpa's farm. We were going to spend the first night at Grandpa's farm. But
they were trying to follow you.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the honeymoon, then they could show up for a long visit.
That's right. You know, anything to upset the apple cart. So they did drive all the way to Sussex.
Were you looking for people to visit you for a long period of time?
We were not. We stayed at Tantanella's room until we felt it was safe. And then we went to our own apartment at 341 Valley Road. And then after the night was over, then we got the car that was parked up at my piano teacher's. You know, about a quarter of a mile up the road. That was prearranged. And we went off to Pennsylvania. Okay, now
For how long in Pennsylvania?
Just
the Poconos.
2 days.
Wasn't it the Poconos?
Yeah, it was 2 days, Sunday and Monday. I had gotten the job that, you know, my boss had had for 34 years. And I never thought they'd choose me because I had only gone to secretarial school. But in the middle of the summer, even though I had planned to be married, I got this call, you know, Mr. Strong wanted to take me out to lunch. And this Mrs. Messica said, the reason we're taking you to lunch, Helen, she said, he wants you to have my job. So that was a terrific thrill on top of, you know, getting married in October. So at the last minute, you know, Mrs. Messica said, well, just ask for 2 days. She said, he'll probably give you a week. Well, he didn't. And so that's why we were shortchanged. But we
Sorry to interrupt, but we had to take a short time for a commercial. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, golly.
Chrissy, we don't want a commercial in this.
You never...
Do you want to use band, quick dry, roll-on, or solid ladies' choice?
Well, one of the earliest ones was when I went to kindergarten. I heard the morning bell. You know, I think it was the first day, and I thought it was time to leave. Instead, it was the bell, you know, for recess. So I walked all the way home, which was a matter of 3 blocks. And I was only 4. I think they sent me to kindergarten when I was 4. And my mother and father were there. And they were so amazed, and I was so humiliated. I had to walk back to the kindergarten room and then, explain why I wasn't there. And it was the longest walk I took, from the door of the classroom over to the table where the other children sat. And then I remember my mother making baby sponge cakes for me. And there was a big willow tree down at the end of Wilson Terrace. And taking the warm sponge cake and eating it by myself in the branches of the willow tree. I used to pick apples a lot, and the property in back of us was called the Gillespie Farm. There was an apple tree there, and the horses were loose in the meadows. And one time in particular, I was really frightened. The apples had been falling down on them, and they were pawing up into the tree. And I couldn't go much further, and here they were beneath me pawing away. I used to do a lot of sports. I played tennis. My dad bought me a tennis racket when I was 12. And at the same
instruments?
Yeah, he bought me the tennis rackets for my friends Mabel and Ruth. And so we had a team. And Mabel
Ruth,
and I
I'm sorry,
especially.
Ruth who?
Ruth Mickelson. Ruth Mickelson. So she wasn't as sports-minded as Mabel was, but Mabel and I were very competitive.
Ruth Jensen.
That's right. That's right. And I was my dad's girl. He always wanted the boy,
Were you the favorite daughter?
No, none of us was, they always claimed. But my father liked to have me out doing the outdoor work. And one Christmas I got a, a plane, to do wood smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can remember my mother asking my father when I was 13, can't you get her in to do some housework? She has to learn how to dust, and so on. That's in grade 6, and then I took to baking. Every time they went to the farmer's market to shop, I knew I had an hour, and I would whip up a cake. I loved to do the baking alone. If I helped my mother, she would only let me bake, beat the egg whites. And that was a bore. I wanted to do the whole thing.
Which elementary and junior high and high schools?
I went to Eagle Rock School, and then we went to
And
Edison
that's still
Junior High School.
in use?
No, it's in use as the administration building now for the Board of Education.
Eagle Rock School for up to 6th grade?
Eagle Rock West Orange used to have 11 schools, and now they're down to about 7.
But you went to Eagle Rock through 6th grade.
That's right.
And then Edison Junior High through 9th grade.
That's right.
And then West Orange High School through
That's right.
12th grade, and you graduated?
I was graduated in 1934. I was only 16. And I didn't know until a number of years later when I worked in the Board of Education how unusual that was. Usually, the highest percentage of children, were 18 years old. And then a few more, were 17. And we always had the group, that could never make it, 19 years old and on. But, they were perennials, football team members and so on. But I was 16.
And Alice graduated in 32?
32, that's right.
And when did Grace and Edna graduate?
Oh, I can't remember.
Well, how much younger were they?
Well, they were 6 and 5 years. So it would be around 1940, 41. See, when we were married, that was 1940.
And where did your family live during all your high school and junior high?
Well, mainly it was Wilson Terrace, a dead-end street. We could even play tennis because it was a dead end. The concrete was marked off into 4 rectangles, and we set up a net. Then the lady across the street complained, and if our ball went over there, she kept the ball. In the meantime, I was playing the piano. I think I had lessons when I was 7 years old, and after, when I was 10, my father said I had to teach myself, that I really knew the basics. So that was the end of lessons.
When the Depression started in 1929, and you graduated in 1934, so there were 5 years there before you graduated from high school. Did your father suffer much during the Depression compared to others, or were you fairly comfortable?
My father lost a lot of money because the bank folded. And I even lost my savings. My savings were around $25, and that was a terrific shock. Here you trusted the bank, and then all your money was gone. And he had a job as a construction superintendent, building, in New York and in Newark. And suddenly he was without a job. But prior to the financial crash, he did take us all to Norway, all 6 of us.
What year was that?
1928. And we were there for about 2 months. We left school, I think, around the 10th of May, and my father had a conference with the principal, and she said traveling was just as educational as, you know, sitting in a school room, and we were all very bright, and so we were sent on with their blessing. My mother brought a silver spoon for each of the teachers and the principal, you know, as a thank you gift. So it was tough when the Depression came. We all had to economize. But no matter how tough things were, my father always gave my mother $25 a week to buy food. And she did miracles with that $25. Once in a while she would even take a secret $5 out and send to her niece in Norway to